I am, this is Saturday morning, it's Veterans Day. And the person that's over maintenance here is a veteran. But they can get through to anybody, I've told that. I did a book out in Marietta, Georgia in 1976. Mr. Flint was shot next door in Lawrenceville in March the 6th of 78. Later, I got a letter from the U.S. Attorney dated June the 23rd of 79, ongoing investigation, national security involved. Now, yes, I'll go on to say this. April Fool Day of 80, I was almost killed. I should have died by all accounts. I had something put in me. I went to West Paces Ferry and hospital emergency room for a tox screen. And it was bedlam what happened to me, illegal. All this has been, and no one's been held accountable. So I was illegally transported across the state line by Lionel Dempsey. I was kidnapped and brought over here, and I'm not going to put that up again. And given the name of a twin Peggy Ann Dempsey, I married to Childers. I have to use that name. She was killed, the twin was, about a week or 2 weeks before they brought me there, so they knew she was, they had it planned to put me there. And Carl, the twin, was born, they were born in 1938, as far as I can tell. The birth certificates of the twins was actually marked through the date of birth to coincide when they put me there. So they were born about a year before me, and Carl was killed a month later by the mother, and they covered it up. I put all this up, and Mr. Flint, I was out there in 83 in a political campaign to replace Larry McDonald, Congressman doctor, that I'd written about. And here, a few years later, his plane goes down, and he was part in trying to have me killed. And here Mr. Flint said he knew that I knew who was responsible for his shooting, and he names Larry McDonald. This is my dad. I found out in late 83. My dad's Edward VIII, who never married Wallace Simpson, a double did. They became the illegal Duke and Duchess of Windsor. My father was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, sister to Georgia O'Keefe. Always. They were still alive, and how they managed to live, I don't know, in 1986 when I came to Roanoke. They were older. They were 40 and 45 when I was born. So my dad's name was stolen. My mom was queen, 36 till forced abdication in December of 36 when this SOB became the illegal monarch of England. Helped take down his brother with character assassination, and this is the Queen Mum, Elizabeth Bowes. She was a Rothschild. This is, they have kidnapped me, and this is Roosevelt. Kennedy, Roosevelt, Rothschild, Bilderberger, Sir Winston Churchill. All your presidents get into the mess. They all know in your Secretary of States. That includes Eisenhower, Truman. Now, I was talking about programming shooters or programming people to kill. They can do it with a knife or make it appear that they committed suicide, like Robin Williams. Timothy McVeigh was in the military, and he put this up. The U.S. Army put a chip in him, in his buttocks. And they mention William, who's illegal. They don't mention that. That they put a chip in him in case he got kidnapped. Now, I think that was a joke, a pun, because of the kidnapping of me and everything, and me telling about chips. This was implantable biochips by Tex Mars or James Mars. They were, both of them wrote about things like this. Church gave it to me and said, "This is what you've been telling about." So I was telling about it in 76. I started doing the book. It's called Project Lucid. And that's where, it's talking about the end times when you have to be chipped to do anything. And that's the people that kidnap me and control your media. I'm doing this in part this morning. I'm going to sit down because I'm here. I wanted to put this. Okay, I'm here. And I was told, I began putting this up back in 14. Somebody where I was living, by the way, it belonged to them. I've tried to leave here and I'm run back. So I don't know what I do now. Really, I'm in bad shape. But they just called him Robert. He was U.S. Marshal. Also, he was a FBI agent. So I happen to know because of someone I grew up with. He was switched from Secret Service to Baker, Howard Baker in 80. That's when I was almost killed. He was FBI and he was local law enforcement in Smyrna and Fulton County, Georgia, Atlanta. So here's Sonny Shaw. Now then, I'm in the Baymont Inn, which is, I did not know this when I was telling about his connection to Bob Goodlatte. Well, I don't know connection. All these people are former governors. You got Mark Warner, and you got John Edwards. It's a Virginia senator, and there's some more, and all the high-ups here in Roanoke. They had a banquet back in whatever it was, 14, 20. Anyway, it was in 8, 15, 14. Anyway, somebody the other day, I didn't even know she knew about this. She said, "You didn't tell enough. Look at it again." And I was putting it up again, and lo and behold, it mentioned Heather Spears joined his group or team or office as office manager, I believe. What they say, sales manager, as his sales manager. So now that was back then. She's here now, and she was the one when I came in here. A cab driver brought me in because I'd been just about killed at Motel 6 in Trouttville. That's owned by him. And the Patels are the other part of this. And they were sent over by, my information is, and is correct, the Bretts to try to take care of me, help me. Well, evidently they sold out along the way because they're pretty wealthy. And I will say this, back when the Clean Air Act, when was that it was held in India? And I had nothing against the Indian people. I thought they were friends. But I know there was a big to-do about the senators, ex-governors, or House representative being over there in India, and I'm not sure if the Patels were mentioned or not. But it was about money that and investments or something. So that's all I'm going to say there because I'm not sure what it was. But it linked it. Now, I'm going to try to sit down. I hope I make it. And right now, I don't know. So I'm putting this up because I have not been disoriented or anything, but since I got back, I came here July the 19th this year, and the cab driver suggested I come here, and it's really too expensive for me. But, I mean, I can't eat or anything, so I have any extra money, so I've stayed because they have a breakfast here, and it's clean and everything, and they were nice to me up until recently. And I've put up here, so I won't reiterate it, take all this up. But the last month when I came back from having vertigo, and that's a whole story in itself, what happened there. I was in the hospital, and I'm going to put my armband, and that's all. I've kept it on because I went to Lewis Scale, and they were nice to me. I was taken there. I didn't know I was going to go. I had left here because I couldn't, I knew I wasn't going to be able to pay the rent on time, so I left and went camping. And I was camped up at North Creek. That was a disaster. I mean, people are going to be shocked if it's ever shown. I hope I'm alive for it to be shown. All of it's one hell of a mess. people breaking laws, and nobody's held accountable. But this was the last time, and it was when the shootings happened out in Vegas. And yeah, that was a programmed shooter. And they did an autopsy on his brain when they should have autopsied his root canal and found chips. Or they put it in other parts of the body, heart bypasses, etc. So, and they can remote control you without your knowledge. They teach you the Morse code. At a low level, you're not aware you're getting. They used to do it with a Helms set. Now then you got satellites and everything. And you can even Google. You may not get what I'm telling about the certain ones. John Lennon, Mark David Chapman shot him while I was working for the DA's office in 1980. Right after that, almost killed me. How I worked there, I don't know, but I did. And he was a nice man. And then later, it's like closed my identity. I was working at living at Warren House Apartments, and working for Fred Simpson, the Madison County District Attorney, Huntsville, Alabama. And Simpson, as in Wallace Simpson, was supposed to marry my father, the King of England, which was a lie. She married a double, and it was a takedown of my father by the Illuminati, your New World Order. The Kennedys, JFK, up to my kidnapping. So I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to go to this. You get Al Haig. Al Haig, okay, Henry Kissinger was the one that really, I put up here what he tried to do. It was on the Watergate. It was on the 18-minute gap. And they did a role-playing when I worked at the district attorney in 80 office of the 18-minute gap. And it was, I remember what they were talking about. Henry Kissinger, what was being done to me. And the reason they subpoenaed the tapes, and it's what they were doing to me, and I almost did if Great Britain doesn't come through with the demands. So I've put up this over the years since 1912. I put it up on Facebook, and then a year later I started putting it up on YouTube. A friend of mine helped orienting me into it, because it had been a long time since I'd been around computers, since I had a job even. So this is Jack Hartsfield, and I'm going to put this up again today. He's sent me a bunch of letters over the years, and he did it for me to support what I'm saying. I've always said that Jack was an FBI agent, and he was working undercover as a reporter. And I'm sad to say that I was informed he died last year. Evidently, he came back he knew Mr. Flint. He worked in Santa Fe next door to, for the New Mexican News, next door to my Aunt George O'Keefe's Ghost Ranch in 1980. Early 84. Well, he worked there sooner than that. But anyway, he kind of was undercover FBI working as a reporter. And there's a lot of letters, and part of them are email like this. And this was a decent man. I mean, I don't think you'll find another Jack Hartsfield. By the way, he's related to Hank Hartsfield, who was commander of a couple of the shuttles. And anyway, I'm going to show this because Jack did it deliberately. He says, "Howdy, Sal." And that's Salvador Vizzini. He was an FBI agent. He was sent over in 1980 when they almost killed me. He and Jack saved my life. I was working for the district attorney, but that didn't matter. Later on, he didn't get reelected. He didn't want to that December of 80. That's when Mark David Chapman shot John Lennon and killed him. It was in November of 80. Anyway, I'll take up a lot of time, and in part, I want to see if I can even keep it together, because this has been a living hell. Especially, they've moved me from room to room in here. And if I left, and I can't get out of town, and right now I can't even get on a bus, and I don't have the money if I just left with nothing on me, okay? Where do I go? It costs to get there. I can't get on a bus and get off somewhere. They've got me isolated. People here in Roanoke want me gone. They didn't want me here to begin with. But this is where I've had to be. Now, I'm going to go back to Sal Vizzini. I got a hold of a book back then. It was a small one that he had authored, and it was published, and I can't remember the name. This is 80. But he said that if he told all he knew, and like I wrote a book, and it included what had been done to me in part, that he'd be killed. And so then he was at FBI, and there was something when the letter from the U.S. Attorney came in '79. FBI agent talked to me, and like I knew who I was supposed to be talking to. It was the agent, and he said to me, "I'm Michael Ken." Well, later I found out that's not true. Michael Ken was the special agent in charge there, but this was one of the other agents. And it was, for real. I'd been down to the office there many times over the years, more than I could remember, I found out later. But as far as I know, they were the good guys, the FBI agents there. You had, I can't remember his name right now, I'm in bad shape. But they were good to me. There's some things happened that some things got out of their hand, I think. But basically, if it weren't for the Brits and British intelligence, and I haven't said that much about it, but I happen to know, and I hope it's time to tell it. I hope I live. British intelligence is the only reason I'm alive, and some of the FBI. And anyway, on the phone, he said, "I'm also Helms." And I thought, well, I know who you are. And right at the moment, I can't even think of his name. He was the one who so. But anyway, he said, "I'm going to walk away for a minute, but I'll be back." And he said, "I'm also Helms." Well, as in the CIA, Richard Helms, and keeper of the secrets. That book. He came back, and then I got a letter from the FBI, June 23rd, 79, and from the U.S. Attorney's Office, issued by the FBI. And there's something else I was going to tell there. It was important. Oh yeah, I had been in the FBI's office, and I remember later, and some people affirmed it, and I didn't even remember it being there. And I'm going to forget what I was going to say. It's so important, I can't remember it. Before the investigation, I realize now they were in Huntsville, and Jack wrote a letter to support that. When I was kidnapped, they had an FBI office in Huntsville, and it wasn't supposed to be known, but they did, so they always knew where I was and had a hand in all of it. And therefore, I went to what was called a satellite office in Marietta, Georgia, where I lived. Most of the time that we were in the Atlanta area and lived there quite a while, twice. My children were born there. And it was a satellite FBI office, and I went there, and it was at night, and you had to go around back of this building. It was an older building, and I had to go upstairs to get to the FBI office. It was a little bitty office. I went in, and he looked like he